energy in the parking lot for about 7-8 minutes into her lower back, and she thought I was heroic, because here's this tremendous amount of back pain that causes her to need a back brace. I run energy for, I don't know, 6-8 minutes, and her back has completely rearranged itself, and now she doesn't need the back brace. To her, I'm heroic. To me, I'm having fun hanging out with an old friend for 6 or 8 minutes. It is so little to give a person the time, whether you're in a bookstore or a cafe or, like I say, a train station, or wherever you happen to be. This is something you can do without a massage table, without your incense and candles and healing music and everything else. Although those things are all wonderful, should you have the opportunity to use them, you don't need to. As long as you have a chair or a floor or both. And by the way, I've never been at a place that didn't have a floor. So you can use the floor, and they can stand on it, and you can do amazing work with the lower back while they're standing, because when they're standing, the hips will roll and turn quite easily and smoothly. When you have a person who is sitting, it's more comfortable usually to work on their shoulders and their head and their neck and such like that. Or if they're sitting, they can put their foot up, or you can work on their knee while they're sitting. Sometimes I have people put their leg across mine, just hold the knee. You can find comfortable positions, but by all means, do find a way to be very comfortable. Now, in the next session that you're going to give each other, I want you to practice the slope breath. I want you to definitely continue doing the fire breath and the 1-4 and some other breaths, but find out what works for you. And I also want you to start doing group sessions. Now, there's a way to do group sessions that you may not have thought of. And by the way, as far as I'm concerned, 2 or more people working on one person as a group. And so I'm going to borrow the 2 of you if I can. So why don't you both come up here and have you stand here. Now say we're working on her shoulder. I'll put one hand on her shoulder here, and you put one hand on top of mine, and then you put one hand here, and I put one hand on top of yours. This is called patty caking. I know it's a high-tech name here, but you see what's happening? She has one hand touching directly, and I have one hand touching directly. And we can both run the energy into this one spot. Thank you. Now, the reason that this is so effective is I have one field of vibration, and the other person has one field of vibration. As I'm running energy normally, when 2 dissimilar vibrations are in proximity to one another, there's a resonant pattern between the 2 vibrations. There's a resonance that occurs, and resonance is more powerful than either of the individual vibrations by themselves. Now, when she has one hand touching here, and I have a hand on top, and I got one hand here, and she has a hand on top, there's one vibration of her hand touching with mine on top there. There's a slightly different vibration of my hand touching with hers on top, which creates a more powerful synergy than either one alone. So we're creating a synergistic effect. It's more like 3 times 3 as opposed to 2 plus 2. It's a massively larger impact. So when you're working with 2 people on one, what you can do is sometimes when it's appropriate, when it works out that way, you can have the people linking up their hands where 2 are in one spot. If you've got a group of people working, more than 2 people, you don't always have to patty cake every single spot. You could have one person working here and one person working there, and then have a patty cake down here and maybe another one up here. You could have 4 or 5 people working on one person if you wanted to. In fact, I got a call from somebody in Southern California who wanted me to meet with a group of physicians who were astounded because there was a woman who had already gone through full chemotherapy and radiation, and they gave up on her and said, well, sorry, but you're dying. We can't help you at all. And a bunch of people who had taken the Quantum Touch workshop had heard about her, or they were friends with her, and they weren't going to let her go that easy. So they gave her group sessions every day, every single day. And the doctors were astounded because she made a full recovery after they completely gave up on her, which was so unheard of. Because by that time, after they've burned and radiated and, poisoned the body, to have a complete recovery is pretty darn astounding. But that's the power of group sessions. So you work on each other, and don't try to be perfect about it. If you can do a comfortable patty cake with each other, great. If you've got more people doing it, fine. But don't try to stack 3 hands in one spot. There's not a great deal of improvement getting a third set of hands. You can once in a while, but I would generally try to go to another area. So if you've got 2 people working on one spot, you know, this person and that person patty cake in their hands, let the next person go to the next spot that needs it in the next spot. So if you've got a group, let them work around the body wherever it is and to fully work with it. So you can vortex the energy as you're working with the patty caking and use the slow breath. And these would be wonderful things to be working with. And so I'd like to also review the breathing a little bit, because I know that some people just don't always get it fully the first time around. So there's a 4-4 breath. And a secret to the 4-4 breath. It sounds so easy, and it is so easy, but this breath was actually one of the last breaths we came up with, and it's one of the most powerful breathing techniques. And a friend of mine, who's also a quantum touch instructor, Henry Ferguel, who used to live in Boston, and I was in California, we both came up with the same idea on the same day. And I called her up one evening and I said, "Hey, I came up with a new breathing technique." And she said, "So did I." She said, "What pattern of breath?" I said, "Well, it's a 4-4. She said, "So did I." And we described it to each other, and we had the exact same idea. She said, "What time did you come up with yours?" I said, 3 o'clock. I said, "What about you?" She said, 6 o'clock. East and West Coast. We came up with the same idea at the exact same time. And the secret of this breath that makes it so powerful is that on the inhalation, what you're doing, because you're taking so long to inhale, we're using more time to do an extremely conscious full body sweep. So you just don't go and just do it casually. It's not a casual full body sweep, meaning that you're feeling the sensations moving up your body. You're doing a very intense, conscientious full body sweep to the count of 4. That's what makes it so powerful. It's as if you're gathering energy all the way up, doing the full body sweep. And then when you get to the top, then let it just surge into the hands. So let's try that again, maybe with a different perspective now. Feel the sweep. See how much awareness you can bring through your body. And move a lot of air. Don't get wimpy about your breathing. You don't have to make a lot of noise, but I want you to move a lot of air. You will have totally different results if you have full breathing when you're doing this. That's better. Gather the energy in your hands and feel the difference you can make by having a highly conscientious full body sweep. Conscientious. That sounds better. All right, good. Does that feel different? Yes, I see a lot of heads nodding here. So the 1-4 breath, of course, is a big inhalation to the count of 1. Inhalation through the mouth really works well, and you want to move a lot of air. The fire breath, let's do it together. Remember, it's like panting. And then don't do it again for another minute or 2. Yeah, that's good. A few people may do this breath incorrectly, and let me give you a heads up. If you see anybody in the room doing it wrong, please help them. It's like panting. Some people may hear it and think it sounds like... That's called 1 inhalation and 6 or 7 exhalations. It does nothing. It's really holding your breath. This is... Okay, so that really gives you a better idea of it. So it's like panting, where you're out of breath and you're catching your breath, so you're really moving the air. That raises the life force energy very, very well. Then there's the 2-6 breath. Inhalation for 2 and out for 6. It's pretty simple, pretty easy. And then the slow breath that I showed you. Finally, be aware that emotions can come up during a session. We've had people who just find themselves tearing, and it's so beautiful to just kind of feel whatever it was, and you don't even have to know what it was. The emotions from the past often get locked into the tissue of the body. Dr. Candace Pert did the primary research, and she found out that the brain receptors actually exist all through the entire body. They're not just in your head. Your head isn't just in your head. We're not just a mind and a body, we're a body-mind, or a mind-body, we're a modi or a bind or something. We're all one. We're not separated. You know,